Pantheon is the newest roller coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This Intamin creation is a dynamic ride experience combining multiple launches, strong airtime hills, and hangtime filled inversions all into one ride. This diverse layout is why I now consider it to be one of the best launch coasters out there, and I'll explain why in this review. Pantheon finally opened in 2022 after years of rumors, planning, and delays. Back in the planning stages, the coaster was nicknamed Project Madrid and envisioned as a far larger giga coaster that would cross the park's Rhine River. This massive coaster was later transformed into two separate coasters. One would be a launched giga shuttle coaster behind Festhaus Park nicknamed Dragonspire, and another would be a diverse Intamin launch coaster in Festa Italia. The latter was known as Project MMXX or Project 2020, and it would become the Pantheon we know today. 2020 was supposed to be a hallmark year for the SeaWorld and Busch Gardens parks. All of their major parks were slated to get new coasters. However, the COVID-19 pandemic threw a major monkey wrench into those plans. SeaWorld San Antonio opened Texas Stingray in early 2020, but all of the other SeaWorld chains roller coasters, including Pantheon, were delayed. Originally, they were moved to spring of 2021. I saw a Pantheon test back in March of 2021. However, the opening dates for all the other rides were quietly changed to anticipated 2021. That seemed like the kiss of death. After months of silence, SeaWorld and Busch Gardens confirmed their other new coasters, including Pantheon, wouldn't open until 2022. Pantheon finally opened last month. I waited an extra month before heading down for a few reasons. 1. The member preview only guaranteed one ride. 2. I wanted to experience this coaster in warmer weather when it would presumably be running faster. And it did in fact ride a little bit better in warm weather. 3. It was an Intamin. I wanted to assess the ride's reliability before going down. Pantheon has been fairly reliable since opening. I recently spent 2 full days at Busch Gardens, and Pantheon probably broke down for an hour stretch each day for mechanical issues. That seems to be the norm so far. There have been 1 or 2 days it has been closed entirely due to LSM issues, but that seems to be the exception. And as we've seen with Hagrid's down at Islands of Adventure, this ride should only get more reliable in time. Weather can impact Pantheon more than the other coasters at Busch Gardens. The minimum operating temperature is 40 degrees like the other coasters, but it seems to be the most sensitive when it comes to wind. Pantheon closes when ground wind speeds hover around the 15 to 20 mile per hour mark. Pantheon is located in its own area on a field in the Festa Italia section of the park. This area was previously inaccessible to guests and only home to animal exhibits. The area is accessible via a bridge from across the Turkish Delight teacups that goes over the train tracks. The ride's layout makes quite the impression. The massive spike, top hat, and outward bank look imposing both in the ride's immediate area and on the footbridge between the Oktoberfest and Italy sections. The ride's light brown track looks fine, but I love the look of the trains. The new generation Intamin trains look sleek, and I love the emblems on the side of the train. Now let's talk about the most criticized aspect about Pantheon, the theming, or lack thereof. The ride is plopped down in a big empty field. There is zero rockwork or landscaping along the course, like the original animation suggested. While that would have certainly plussed the experience, I don't think it's an issue. The layout is strong enough on its own, especially considering how fast you rip through it. The location also results in awesome night rides. A few weeks ago, the ride had multicolored lighting packages on the ride's largest elements. It looked pretty cool off-ride, but nearby residents complained. I don't know if they have plans to bring them back, but this currently means night rides are pitch black, which is a truly wild experience. I think this is better from an on-ride perspective. You cannot see any of the ride's twists and turns coming. The theming in the queue line wasn't what I expected though. While I liked the signage explaining how each of the ride's elements related to a Roman god, I was surprised by the generic wooden fencing around the queue line. That's not a deal breaker for me by any means, especially because the queue line offers some of the best views of the coaster. Pantheon has 2 trains, each seating up to 20 riders. This makes it one of the lowest capacity coasters at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Combined with the ride's popularity and newness, expect to wait a while unless you visit on the quietest of days. The trains have just a lap bar, so they're fairly easy to check. And the park typically has the next train ready to go once the prior one hit the brake run, so the line thankfully moved at a steady pace. I visited on a Sunday and Monday during Virginia's spring break. Pantheon had the longest line in the park both days by far. Most of the rope drop crowd understandably went towards Pantheon. I was on one of the first trains, but it was a nearly full queue line by the time I got off. For most of the day, the coaster had a nearly full queue and a posted 45 to 60 minute wait. Keep in mind the ride is only available one time only on the highest tier quick queue, so pretty much everyone is pulled from the standby currently. Towards the end of the day, the coaster's queue line was roughly half filled and took closer to 30 minutes. And a note on wait times, there is an electronic display board at the main entrance estimating the wait time, and it's weirdly specific, stating times like 11 minutes and 27 minutes, but I usually waited a little less than what was stated. Once you reach the station, you are free to choose any row, and there is not a bad row on this ride. I thought the back had the best forces, and the front was great to feel the speed to the fullest. The stairs leading up to the station state front row riders should stick to the left, and if the line for that row actually started there, it would take a very long time. But typically, it was only an extra 2 or 3 cycles more than the other rows. Lockers are required for bags, but small items can be stored on the platform. Recently, the park has implemented a policy that all glasses, even with a strap, are not allowed on Pantheon. This was a bummer for me because it made it tricky to appreciate the view during the ride, so I hope this is only temporary. Most of the newer generation Intamins have overhead lap bars and elevated seats. Pantheon has the similarly comfortable lap bars as something like you see in Velocicoaster, but the seats are lower. Your feet likely will be resting on the floor. The restraints were less accommodating than other new Intamins though. They had a lower verify. I saw guests who could easily fit on Velocicoaster struggle to get on Pantheon. Just keep that in mind if you're a larger guest. Pantheon will also be a problem if you're on the taller side. Riders must be under 76 inches tall to ride, and Busch Gardens is very strict about this. You need to walk under a bar just to enter the queue line. While this may be related to the tight clearances in the ride's second half, other Intamins like Six Flags New England's Superman the Ride have similarly strict height limits. One other weird thing with this coaster is that it claims to be the world's fastest multi-launch coaster. Its 73 miles per hour or 117 km per hour top speed is certainly fast. But Intamin also made Soaring with Dragon in China, which is another swing launch coaster that goes 5 miles per hour faster. Pantheon is the fastest multi-launch coaster outside of Asia though. Once dispatched, you slowly roll out of the station towards the ride's first launch. Without pause, you rapidly accelerate. While this launch's top speed isn't too impressive, it has some nice punch by the end of it. You slowly coast through the first of 2 inversions, a 0G winder, and this element is loaded with hang time. Because your entire upper body is free, it is exhilarating hanging upside down like that for a few seconds. You then twist towards the ground, getting some decent positive Gs, before navigating these 2 small outward banked hills. Imagine the pre-lift on Twisted Colossus taken with more speed. The first one tries to pop you out of the train sideways between the decent laterals and the weak airtime. The second hill only offers some lateral hang time, but you definitely notice it because it's banked in the opposite direction as the prior hill, so your body definitely is thrown to the side. You then hit the ride's swing launch sequence, and this is where the intensity really picks up. The setup of this launch track results in some weird sensations. There's a subtle little dip into the launch. You then get boosted forwards. The launch then cuts off as you coast over a bunny hill. Then the launch engages again. These 2 spurts of acceleration don't have too much power to them, nor do the hills offer any airtime. Yet. You then climb 2/3 of the way up the top of the top hat and stall out. This gives some nice weightlessness throughout the train. You then fall backwards and are abruptly boosted backwards. You really feel the yank, and then you careen over that bunny hill. And this time, you get a very strong and surprising pop of ejector airtime. It is incredible in any row because you cannot see it coming, but is seen most pronounced in the back row because the train was still accelerating at this point. You then get boosted backwards again, and remember that subtle little dip? You get this abrupt little pop that slams you backwards when you go this time. The train then flies up the massive 178 foot or 54 meter tall spike. This element is amazing. You travel much higher up the spike than you may suspect, and it feels even taller because of the ride's placement. and this element also induces several seconds of weightlessness. It feels similar to the spike on Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, minus the extra LIM boost that ride offers. You then rip through the swing launch track one last time. The sense of speed for the remainder of the ride is incredible. That little dip only gives a tiny pop towards the back of the train this time, but you then get another speed boost, and that bunny hill delivers powerful semi-sustained ejector airtime for everyone. It is probably the strongest airtime moment on the ride. You then get one last bit of acceleration and coast over the ride's top hat. While the train travels much slower than the original test footage showed, it still delivers. Those up front get some good sustained ejector airtime over the top, and some float on the descent. Those in the back get the inverse. You levitate out of your seat at the apex, and then you're launched out of your seat on the drop. This plunge is a beyond vertical one at 95 degrees, but I honestly couldn't feel it on ride. It just felt vertical. But I didn't care because the drop still provided in the visual and airtime department. You then zoom around a low turn adjacent to the Rhine River. Pantheon doesn't do too much in terms of positive Gs, but this turn does deliver in that department, and I started to gray out on a few of my rides. The train then heads over the giant outward bank. While this hill wasn't as extreme as we anticipated, it is still really fun. This was the one element on Pantheon that seemed temperature dependent. In the front, you are out of your seat for most of the element. It's solid sustained floater airtime in cooler weather, and as strong as weak sustained ejector airtime in warmer weather. In the back, you lean sideways out of the train in the ascent. You then gently levitate out of your seat at the apex, and then come out of your seat even more on the descent. The large drop gives decent floater airtime in cooler temps, and weak ejector airtime in warmer conditions. After a speedy valley, you quickly rise upwards. This gives a faint little pop of airtime throughout the train. You then twist to the right and go through the 0G stall. And this is easily one of the best stalls on the planet. It delivers amazing hang time, and I love how you're still levitated out of your seat as you dive towards the ground. You twist upright at the last possible instant, which is definitely a cool visual. You also have some awesome head choppers with the nearby supports. I think this may be my second favorite stall after the one on Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. And speaking of head choppers, you then charge under the top hat, and most people will nervously yank their hands downwards due to the tight clearance. You then navigate a speedy S-bend towards the ride's final element. These turns offer some lateral whips, particularly on night rides when you cannot anticipate them. The train then charges over a wave turn. You have so much speed through this hill, and it's paired with some decent floater airtime. You then hit the brake run, ending the 3,328 foot or 1,014 meter long coaster. But keep in mind, you traverse the same bit of track multiple times on the swing launch sequence, so Pantheon feels considerably longer. This ride definitely has enough elements to give a satisfying experience. Now let's talk about the ride's smoothness and pacing. Most Intamins are very smooth, and that's certainly the case with Pantheon. This ride doesn't even have a hint of a rattle. As for pacing, Pantheon really excels in this department. While the ride starts off a little slow with those smaller outward banks, everything from that initial stall on the top hat is incredible. The sense of speed from that point is sublime, and every element lifts you out of your seat. So what would I rate Pantheon? I would give this coaster a 9.5 out of 10. This is a unique coaster that dabbles in a bit of everything. It has some great airtime moments going both forwards and backwards, two inversions loaded with hang time, and incredible speed. Everything from the swing launch onwards is near perfect in my opinion. Add in how diverse and re-rideable this coaster is, and you truly have a winner. Really, the ride's only weakness is the absence of theming, which isn't too big of a deal for me, and the somewhat slow start. This is my new favorite attraction at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. While the park now has 3 launch coasters, and possibly 2 more on the way, Pantheon offers a different ride experience, and it may be a while until this park gets an attraction that can top it. This truly is one of the better launch coasters out there. So those are my thoughts on Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. What are your thoughts on this new Intamin launch coaster? Do you agree it's a top-notch attraction? Let me know what you think about this ride down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.